City of Indianola Council meeting, March 7th, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We call the roll.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Here.
Parker,
Present.
Dalby,
Here.
Schroeder,
Present.
Beach,
Here.
Richardson,
Present.
Mayor Erickson.
Present. At this time, we will move into the public comment section of our meeting. If there's anyone in the audience that has something they want to address, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address.
My name is Charlie Declan. I live at 2209 West 10th Avenue, Indianola. Obviously, we live on the golf course on Deer Run. I'm sure that most of you have heard that the Deer Run Golf Course has been for sale. The owner has elected at this point to also have an auction sale on April 9th. Along with residents of Deer Run, but all through the city, we have started a petition to talk to the city. And we wish to express our concern about the possible loss of the golf course titled Deer Run Golf Club on Highway 92 on the west side of the community. It has become apparent that due to the owner's age, health concerns, that they have chosen to sell the property at an auction, April 9th, 2022. This course serves many members on an everyday customers. Deer Run provides driving range, 18-hole golf course to our high school students, PE classes, golf teams. There are many other schools in Warren County, in Clark County, and Marion counties that make up this facility and train there as well. Simpson College golf teams use Deer Run for their training. There are businesses in Indianola and other cities that hold annual outings. There are a number of people who have cancer foundations, churches, and other individuals who have benefits out there for goodwill. And if you put your signature on this petition, you will be asking your city government to keep Deer Run in operation and not be developed for residential, commercial, or industrial use. If we lose this course, it will cost anywhere from $6 to $9 million to replace it. Indianola needs Deer Run for our schools, our elderly, and our residents, and for growth. With that, I've talked to several people, obviously within the city. I've been here since 2008. I've been a member of the Deer Run Golf Club. I've had an opportunity of traveling all through the United States. And while Deer Run needs some love, it has the possibility of being one of the most premier courses in the state of Iowa. I've talked to some people here that have played that course. It is a risk and reward course. So for people that don't play golf all the time, you can still have a good time. For people that want to take chances, you got that opportunity. As I said, it needs some love in there. The course, the way it's designed with the valleys and the low spots, plays different every day. And people that come in, I have people come in, a lot from Texas is where my company I work for based from. And they all are, I'll say, do you want to go, they come down and want to play golf in the summer. It's okay. So we'll play Deer Run and then we'll go to Legacy or something like that. No, we'll play Deer Run, and we'll play Deer Run, and we'll play Deer Run. But we would like to support. I guess one of the questions that we're asking right now is, what do you feel the possibility is of the city recognizing what the value is of the golf course?
I think, I know it's not typical that we have these engagements during public comment, but I know, Charlie, you've done some research. If you want to kind of explain that zoning, how it's zoned.
Yeah, I can do that.
Because
That's not,
I think that kind of will ease some concerns, but it is zoned as that, so.
yeah, so there's, first of all, when you look at zoning, there's a few things we have to look at. And I think as most everybody here recalls, back in May of 2020, we adopted our updated comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan does show for this golf course to be used as parks and recreation, which does allow for a few uses, but mainly golf courses, parks, recreational type uses. The underlying zoning then on this golf course is in a PUD zoning, which is a planned unit development. As part of a planned unit development, you have to submit a development plan that shows how the area is going to develop out. In this particular development plan, it shows that it's going to be developed out as a golf course. So that is what we govern off of, is that plan that's submitted. Any change to that proposed in the future, if it were to be proposed to go to a residential use, for instance, it would take a comprehensive plan amendment, and then it would take a rezoning through council to approve that. So this city council, if that does happen in your terms, you would be reviewing that before any changes are made.
I can answer what you're asking. I mean, I think that that's the process that we're at right now, is that that's how it's zoned. And that's how we put it in our comprehensive plan. So ultimately, yes, it would, if somebody wanted to come in and, build those homes, it would come before us and planning and zoning.
I understand, and that's a very good, valid point. And it makes me feel a little bit better,
Sure.
not a lot. I still feel that, and feel strongly that this is an opportunity for the city. Steve Dyer has built this golf course. Many years ago, had it designed and put it together. For lack of something better, this is somewhat his legacy. I mean, he wants it. He's willing to work very closely with the city to be able to make that happen. However, with that being said, the auction date is bearing down on us quickly too. But now, do you have any questions of me or of Steve Dyer, as he is here with me as well?
I think that's I think we could set up a meeting and Charlie and maybe Doug from Parks and Rec, and have a conversation at least. I don't think that hurts anything. That
Nope.
have it sit down, have that conversation, and kind of see, where everyone's at on that.
Okay.
If that seems like a good, starting point here.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Whenever you'd like to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Charlie, I guess I'll defer to you and Doug. Maybe you want to give them a call tomorrow. Get some
Yeah, if
dates
you
and-
want to, do you have contact or anything?
Not with me.
Okay.
There is a form back there that you can put his name and phone.
Yeah, if you can just give me your contact information, I can get a hold of you. And we can set
Okay.
something up.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Charlie. Anyone else? Thanks, Charlie. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there anything that needs to be pulled from the consent agenda tonight?
I'm gonna ask at item M, I talked to the chief, interim chief for a minute. I want him to talk about the SRO a little bit. And what they do right now for the community, I think a lot of folks don't realize the importance of those two things, so.
Okay.
Mayor, I need to pull B claims,
Okay.
please.
And mayor staff would request that H be pulled.
We have pulled from the consent agenda. B, approval of claims. H, vacation of alley, North South Alley. And M, receive and file the police department annual report.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda with minus the items mentioned.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank you. Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
So we will, would you want to go first, Chief?
It's fine by me.
Okay. So this is item, the police department annual report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thanks for stopping in today, Steve, to have me just say a few brief words about this. It's my first go at the annual report, so I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Some of the community things that we do, let's go back to pandemic of, I think it started, what, 2019 already? We kind of lost all of our community outreach programs that we were doing. Just, we couldn't be near people and just couldn't interact how we wanted to. So in 2020, we still were kind of deficit with them. But we did come up with an idea to, in November, it's our version of No Shave November. We called it Hair to Help. So, I mean, it was pretty easy. There was no contact between people. We just didn't shave. And the females that work for the city and the police department got to put a red or blue stripe in their hair to support one of our departments. I do believe Chief Chia that we had more blue stripes than red stripes, but I'll let him talk if he wants to. So we got to raise money that year for a brand new project in town called the Heal House. And we were fortunate to raise over $2,000 and donate when they were starting up. So that was a great thing. This program continued this year, along with many of our others. We finally got back. We're not 100%, but most of them were back. So this year we did No Shave November again, Hair to Help. And I do not take credit for that. That was former Chief Button that came up with that name. And we raised approximately $1,000 for ICYF. Casey Blake was involved and was all on board with it. And we just gave them their check and cash just about a month ago. So they were real happy with that. Some of the other programs that we did are definitely worth mentioning. I'm not going to mention them all. One of the other new ones we did was October. We supported breast cancer, and we came up as a supervisory team with the pink patch design and logos on our cars. And fortunately, we got to raise $1,400 to a organization here in Warren County called the Pink Tractor Foundation. Pink Tractor Foundation was founded when Joe Geringer got breast cancer several years ago, and fortunately, she's a survivor. She used to work at the sheriff's office, and now she's back at the sheriff's office, so we all know her, and we're very happy that we got to donate that money to her and their organization. They help lots of families, including several Indianola families I know of. That was a great thing. A few of the other ones that were kind of new that I'm going to touch on briefly. The YMCA hosted their First Responder Appreciation Day. We've been to a lot of 9/11 remembrance ceremonies and things like that, but this one was here. It was hosted by the Y. It was a really fun event. A lot of kids were there. A lot of people were there for that one. It was great. You know, sometimes we're not giving back, and sometimes we're being honored. It was flattering, and we all enjoyed that one. Lots with the schools we do. We lead the parades. The other big one that was just a community involvement was, of course, Knot Fest. 30,000 of your closest friends come to town. You got to be involved in that a little bit. Even though this was outside of Indianola proper, we every officer was working that day, and I think I mentioned this to you guys before. No arrests, lightest crowd you're ever going to see. So that was a huge success for us. No one got hurt, and no one went to jail. So that was a great thing. School resource officer. Let's touch on that real quick. We consider this one of our greatest successful programs. I'll go back a few years when we were organizing this with the schools. I attended several meetings, and some of the meetings were about concerns of parents. And of course, you're gonna have a police officer in your school. There are some concerns. There's a gun there. There's someone there that can arrest you. The concern, and I'm gonna quote myself here, was that this program should not be used as a pipeline to the court system. It's important. I mean, everything we deal with does not end up in a citation or an arrest. And so we really want to exaggerate this at the schools. Most incidents are handled informally with conversations with students, parents, and school staff. Very important to hit on the statistics I'm about to give you. 392 reports Officer Hackett took as our school resource officer during last school year. Only 10 of those ended up in criminal charges. Some things are unavoidable. Drugs on school grounds, alcohol on school grounds, fights where someone gets hurt. Some of them are unavoidable. So that's 2.6% of all the calls that SRO Hackett officially took a report on ended up in some type of criminal charge. We feel that's a huge success. We handle things informally with words instead of citations out of the school when we can. So that's just some of the highlights. I'd be happy to answer any questions over any part of this. If you guys have any.
I just have a comment. I know I asked my kids about Officer Hackett, and they say what a great guy he is. You know, I didn't even really realize he was our SRO, but my kids had glowing things to say about him.
Yeah, that's pretty universal. You know, I do his review every year. I always touch base with the school principals and some of the school staff, and that's what I hear from all of them.
Great report.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
I like all the pictures.
Yeah.
The visual. Did a good job.
No one wants to
highlighting
hear
all
me.
those
They want to
events.
see pictures.
Thanks for the comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And
It was
I'll
really
say it
great.
again, I would rather have you get up and give the report. I know last
Yeah,
year
that
you
was
laughed
nice.
at me when I said that.
Work on that for next year.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so,
I would move that we receive and file the police department annual report.
thank you. Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Schroeder? Aye. Beach?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
So approval of claims, item B on the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve those?
Second.
I just have one quick question if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is just for my knowledge, honestly. So I was looking at the gas costs and it looks like fire uses almost as much as EMS, but I was thinking it'd probably be the opposite since we have like 80% of our calls are EMS. I didn't know if maybe that was just because there's just one large bucket where all the fuel's taken out of. I didn't know how that was broke up.
We've been to a lot of fire.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if maybe.
You think about it, that's not good. If you look at it, EMS call it, it's a medic unit. That's being used and utilized. On a fire call, first of all, it's more than one apparatus that's going. That are fire, it's either an engine and the aerial or an extrication. They aren't small vehicles and they suck the fuel.
Yeah.
And if it's a working fire, you're running the pumps. The RPMs are going way up. Yeah, they use a lot of fuel. They are not efficient.
I see the ambulances out all the time, but
Yeah.
rarely do I see the fire trucks. I just didn't know if it was just one large pool and they divvied it out, but that makes sense. Thank you.
Good question. We had that motion, correct? Yeah, Jackie?
Councilmember Beach?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Hewlin?
Recuse.
Parker?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Schroeder?
Moving on, we have the third consideration of an ordinance vacating the portion of the North Valley South Alley that lies between lots 5 and 6 and block 8 of the original town plan of Indianola, Warren County, Iowa.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Really quick on this one. There's been some new information that's kind of come to light on some possible alternatives to this one. So at this moment, I don't think it's appropriate to move on third consideration until we kind of clear that up and make sure that we have exhausted all avenues before vacating the alley. So I think I would just request, I think at this time that we delay indefinitely, or should table. Okay, table indefinitely, and then we'll bring it back once we have got resolution to that.
Move to table third consideration ordinance vacating a portion of the north-south alley that lies between lots 5 and 6 and block 8 of the original town plat of Indianola, Warren County, Iowa indefinitely.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Schroeder? Aye. Beach?
Aye.
Richardson?
Aye.
Hewlin?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Moving into the discussion and direction of PERDA contribution for fiscal year 23. So I'll take that. So this will have to be brought back at the next. Unfortunately, they didn't get everything that I needed. Asking for some statistics and facts. So they do know that we need to present that at the next meeting before that final budget. So I think we'll just table on that.
Yeah, Mayor, whatever the council decides to do, we'll need to amend it into the next budget since we've already published the budget.
Sure.
By notice on the second, and it's over at, the full budget's over at the library now, and it's pretty much posted. You can't spend more, you can spend less. And it does have an effect on the levy rate, but we'll just have to, whether the council wants to decide, we'll have to wait till after July 1st, or we can do it in June as well, but amend the next fiscal budget.
Did we have anything in there for them?
No.
No, okay, so. As we have.
No, we're still waiting for direction.
Okay. So this is actually not on the agenda, and I apologize, but it is just a brief update from Winterset. Christina and John, did you have a chance to do the emergency landfill meeting? The Winterset was obviously directly hit by that. So Christina has a type statement from what happened out of that meeting today.
So most of you know, Winterset was hit pretty hard with the tornado, and the landfill was directly hit head on. Majority of their buildings and equipment were completely destroyed. So they are currently operational. They have requested scales from Iowa Department of Transportation. They're waiting for those. They have a temporary job trailer that's being brought in. And they're trying to get gravel in now to get that down so they can get the trailer brought in. Over the next 24 hours, they're going to be working to get that permanent job trailer on site to use for the makeshift office. The local utility, along with Mid-American, is going to be working to replace the destroyed transformers so that way they have power and they're not operating solely on generators. They're going to be working to repair the broken weigh scale and possibly borrowing the one from the Iowa DOT. Kind of give you a little bit of an update on where they're at with their insurance and things like that. 2 insurance adjusters are supposed to go out today, one for the buildings, one for equipment. The staff's working with an IT tech on recovering hard drives that they're pulling out of the rubble. And staff had already been out yesterday prior to the snowstorm, luckily, pulling any paper files and things like that that they can find. The facility is currently open. They have been working closely with DNR and their engineer to try and get temporary protocols put in place. The biggest thing, I guess, for people right now, until they get that temporary scale, they're having to have trucks estimate the weight of their loads. And they're asking that, when you're bringing in the loads, to try and make sure they're as accurately estimated as possible. They did say that our local TRM here is one of the best ones at doing that. So that was kind of a nice thing to hear. And then just a reminder to citizens, dump truck drivers, you can help the most by having your weights dialed in and estimated most accurately. Move in and out as quickly and safely as possible without doing a lot of stopping to look around at all the damages. I know it's in our nature to be curious, but right now, for everyone's safety, it's best that you just get in and get out. And then I'd like to say, with all of the loss that community has gone through, I can only imagine what those families are dealing with. So I just want to say that our condolences go out to them, and any help that we can give them, I want our city to make sure that is an open door for them. So
believe they were getting scales this afternoon, actually. from the
Yeah, and
17th.
actually, I was gonna say that too. I did get an update, just before the meeting that they had requested that scale and they're supposed to be hopefully getting it here very soon.
So,
Any other council updates? Or-
Did you want to mention the meeting last Thursday?
Yep, I'm gonna put it in my mayor's report.
Okay. fine, perfect.
Unless you want to talk about it.
Right ahead.
I'll let you add into it. So moving on to the mayor's report on community update. It obviously has been, since our last council meeting, a big churn in events in our world. So there's a bunch of people that I'd like to give thanks to. First off, Marty Miller and Doug Byland. We have been able to, through Miller Electric, secure blue and yellow lights to go on our sculptures. So at night they are illuminated in the colors of Ukraine. We do have families from Ukraine that are first generation immigrants here and still have family overseas. And so I had an opportunity to speak with family this weekend, and that was Saturday morning, and man, did we know what we were going to get into Saturday night. And so moving into Saturday night, I'd like to thank both our chiefs. I immediately spoke with the mayors in Norwalk and Carlisle to make sure that, we would help and let them know in anything that we needed. Charlie answered his phone on Saturday night, so thank you for that. But and then on top of all of that, then it snows. So thanks to AP's guys for getting out there and plowing. I know TRM has been instrumental in helping other communities dropping off dumpsters and stuff like that. Had an opportunity to see some of the damage in Norwalk today, and it is, it's really scary what can happen just like that. More positive note, we had Mayor's Youth Council this past Wednesday. We had a tour of the Justice Center. It's pretty remarkable in there. There's a lot of glass, and I feel for those cleaning ladies, I will say, but it's really nice. They're still on target to have July 7th fully functional. After that, Darren, Peter, myself, and Steve, and David Carroll, the county engineer, had an opportunity to sit down. Mainly, we had some questions about parking for downtown, so we'll have an update with merchants and the downtown chamber meetings on that. They have a great resolution to that. They are looking at some off-site parking, and then they're also giving employees up to $600 a month off for a year, off of their health insurance for walking from those secured parking spots that they would have. After that, I got to learn about the joint fuel facility, which I had no idea much about that. And that was in anticipation that on Thursday, Charlie, AP, myself, Steve, the stakeholders from the school district and stakeholders from the county all had a meeting regarding that. The county is building a new joint fuel facility outside of town. And so they basically want to know what the future of the current location would be. That is obviously a much bigger conversation. They gave us some printouts in regards to what it costs. So Charlie and Darren from the county and the school district, advised AP and David Carroll, the engineer from the county, and Ron from the school district to get some more information in regards to how much fuel is being used by who, how much money we're saving. And we've got to have a whole lot of information before it even comes to council. So basically, we just asked them, it's fact finding at this point, but they'll come to us. The fuel facility sits on about 6 acres of land. And the county did say that they would give the city essentially first right to buy that if that is the direction the city wants to go. But nothing, that is pretty far out conversation right now, but they are anticipating that they would have, I think it's 15 months. So
The 2080 agreement says there has to be a 15-month
notice,
separation. You have to give a 15-month notice. The question right now, and I think the discussion at that time, last Thursday, was among all the stakeholders, was whether or not Warren County still was going to participate in any way, shape, or form, because they are putting their own fuel facility out area south of town on Nevada. What's the other street? Goes whatever, right there at the corner of the turn goes south to the conservation building. they're putting their own fuel facility there, and so they figure that most of their trucks and things will be fueled there. We did have a discussion about county sheriff, whether or not they'd be using a facility here, whether it made sense for them to drive out there, whether that's going to be up to the sheriff. But there may be some opportunities where they would still participate to a lesser extent in the facility here. It's all up in the air. We left it to staff to kind of work out the details and figure out what's going on. And so just wanted to update everybody on where we are with that particular situation.
And essentially, it wasn't the formal notice yet that they
No.
were giving us.
No.
It's a
Just discussion.
pre-conversation to that. I believe their anticipation is that I thought they were shooting for end of 2023. But I, again, could be totally wrong. So we haven't formally gotten that, but they're making us aware it's coming. And so then what will happen with that? So it's a good conversation, I think, for everybody. It was led by the experts, so.
And the only thing I would say is that they may not pull out if they decide to stay part of that agreement. Just won't use as much fuel out of that facility, but they would not pull out of that agreement. So it's still up in the air. It's kind of real tentative right now, but again, we left it up to staff to figure that out. So.
Anything else, Charlie?
No, and I just wanted to jump in on really quick and say, I didn't get the impression that they were going to get out of the 2080 agreement. I think all parties still see that there's a buying power there to get the fuel jointly. It's just, we might add another facility now to the overall 2080 agreement. So, but that stuff all needs to be ironed out. We're probably not anywhere close to it.
I did talk to some folks that worked on that in 2012. I think it was updated. I think you guys updated the machines and the pin pads and everything. Those tanks, if they are probably the original tanks, but they're fiberglass, so I don't think there's ever going to be an issue. Well, not going to be an issue for a long time with those. So that was one of the discussions too about how old the tanks were at that joint fuel facility. And did I remember they were 10 or 12,000 gallon tanks? Do you remember? 12,000. Yeah. So we do get truckloads when we come in, so it's usually a pretty good savings in fuel costs. Well, all three entities understand that. So.
And then the last update is we had last week, myself and Alex, who was the lobbyist helping with Senate File 2282 and House File 2475, which is likely to be on the debate calendar in the next week. Next week or two, I should say. Their goal is to have it through March 18th. It would require a mayor could still request for cause an IMU member to be removed trustee, but it would have to have council's approval as well too. That's one of the amendments right now. So
Isn't that current status though?
no, not necessarily. It's not how the law is written currently.
I'm sure that was what my understanding was, that mayor could request, but then they would have a 30 days to decide to have a hearing, and if they chose, then the council would make the final decision.
Well,
That's
before
current-
that hearing,
that's
they
current
would
law.
have to have the council, before that would go for the removal, the council would have to approve it first. And then the hearing process would come through, and then a judge would be involved in that. So it's a unique situation, but it also says for cause, it would mirror the planning and zoning removal process. It's gotten a little farther this year than I thought it would, but we'll see what happens.
Well, as long as it's local control is the biggest key. I think once you put it in a judge's hands, you're kind of getting away from elected officials that were put in place to oversee. So, you're hopefully we'll have a little bit more oversight with elected officials. So you are talking about a body of people that are not elected to their positions. So.
We're talking about
You-
before.
Municipal
Yeah.
utility members are not elected, they're not accountable to anybody. So we are.
I think essentially this is gonna give the council more of an input at the get-go. Because the mayor would make the decision and then the council would have to vote.
And that's essentially what it has already been.
Well,
No,
no,
it's not.
that currently it's the mayor would put forward the removal. They would have the hearing if they requested,
Right.
then council would vote.
Correct.
So this is moving that
It's the
in
same
front
thing.
of the council before it would ever go to hearing.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So it's essentially a two-step process.
I think the big factor is though that there's follows and mirrors a lot of things planning and zoning does. That's the big thing. And that in the sense that you have to have cause to remove. It's more than just a lot of things that could be suggested. It has to be for cause. There's certain aspects in the county and state code on that.
I think it's a pretty big level though, either way. I mean, and it wasn't just willy-nilly, Steve, if that's what you want to talk about. And that's kind of what you're saying right there.
Well,
And
I'm
it
not saying
wasn't
that.
willy-nilly. I mean,
Well, I don't
there
really
was a lot of cause
any-
laid
okay.
out.
John, I don't think this is, yep, I should have pulled out. I don't think it's really up for debate at this point among us. It's on the Capitol floor. So I think
Right.
at this
I
point,
get it. And you were putting the city's name on it and didn't really talk to anybody about it either.
well, I didn't put the city's name on
You
it. I
didn't.
put myself on it.
No, yeah, as mayor of the city of Indianola, yeah.
Along with quite a few other individuals. in the city.
Again, we are a body here, though. There's 6 of us.
Well, I
including-
would encourage you, if you have problems with the bill, to reach out to Representative Bowden and Senator
will.
Garrett and,
I will.
express the concerns.
Again, it
and-
comes back to we're elected to, and we're held accountable by that. And that's why when the mayor appoints that body and the council approves that body, then reverse that. What you guys made it out that this was a willy-nilly thing, and it was not a willy-nilly thing. Mayor Pepper went through and had cause for all of those reasons as to why those individuals need to be removed.
I think this steps up that, when you say for cause, I think it steps up the game a little bit as to what the for cause is,
So
rather than,
what would
felonies.
cause be? I mean,
I-
accountability for your position and what you're doing in your position to me is cause. So you're just saying any illegal things. So the poor performance is not illegal.
I don't know what the bill read. I didn't read the bill.
Did you see my point?
I
If you have
understand
poor
your point.
performance, somebody that doesn't show up to their meetings, that isn't active, now they're just stuck on
If I
there.
remember reading, I did read through the bill one time. I don't know if it's been changed, but it was something along the line, if you don't show up to meetings, that's another aspect of it. But a lot of it also is that we're trying to take the politics out of it. We're trying to move it to a position, in my opinion, where you have an actual reason. It's either fraud or it's a criminal violation or something along that line that would remove that person from office. Malfeasance in office or something along that line is my understanding of where we're trying to get to, what I would like to see that go to, rather than taking some of the things that, I think we haven't made this argument, we haven't talked about this, but I really do think that we want to get that to where your boards and commissions are equal. The planning and zoning have a different set of rules right now than anybody else. And I think if we want to do that, I personally would like to see us move to something that planning and zoning is equal with everybody else. Or the other way around, everybody else is equal to planning and zoning. Rules requirement for removal from planning and zoning. And I think this bill does that.
It mirrors it, yes. And yes, we have a unique situation, but it has happened in other communities. So I think, again, you are free to voice with them before debate, and I think that's okay that you have a different opinion. I'm not here to point fingers about what previously happened. We have a report that is coming in regards to that, so I can't speak to her concerns. I think there's obviously why I asked for a report is because I want to see the validity of these things being said, and I want to see what action items there are to fix it. That's all we can do at this point. All right. So that's all I have for that meeting. We will move into public consideration. Public consideration of a second consideration of ordinance amending the city code of City of Indianola, Iowa to add the Downtown Square Commission.
Is it on?
Motion second.
Yeah, can
I was so.
thank you. In a second.
Second.
Right, discussion on that.
Really, the only thing I wanted to add, and is it not working, Dougie? Okay, we updated the map here just because I know last time it wasn't too obvious on what those boundaries were. So if Andy can just one more right here, I think this kind of better shows that area, just that old town area that's considered in Indianola. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Second thing, I did email council this afternoon. The application has been updated I've also forwarded that to Brenda Easter at the chamber, and I believe she's gotten that out to business owners as well now too. So if this is approved on second consideration, we did ask for applications to be in by next Wednesday for the first round review for council upon third consideration. So just wanted to give council that update.
Would we be able to have a discussion on just creating some better criteria for the selection process?
Yeah.
Just because before we had the policy committee where applications would come through and there would be probably more of a filter as opposed to information. Just I'd hate for applications to come up and I'm concerned about just the overall perception when an application comes in, if we're not real clear in what we are looking for in the application itself and who is applying and what their credentials are. Does anybody else have that concern at all?
I mean, I think, yeah, we definitely need to kind of have, what are we looking for in those ideal candidates? One of my questions is if somebody sits on, one board, can they sit on another board in the city? Or again, I know it has to be that criteria, so maybe that's something you would take your guidance on that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to speak for council on appointments by any means, just because again, I think that's up to the council to decide who is and is not on there. I mean, from my standpoint, I would look at it as, I think if everybody has a really good understanding of some of the things that are happening on the square right now, between the Streetscape Project, the courthouse project, we're looking at a facade grant program, things like that. Just knowing, I think, some of the big decisions that this commission is going to be reviewing probably within the next year to 2 years that are going to have everlasting impacts on the square, and just knowing that those types of people probably are the ones that we would want on the commission. But I obviously we have 6 different council members who all might have 6 different ideas on who that is, and we can maybe work to have that discussion at the next meeting and then maybe bring candidates forward later. But I don't know if we're ready to have that discussion tonight either. So
Refresh my memory. How many people were we putting on? these commissions?
it's 9 members total. So the way it'll set up is 3 people would be appointed to 3-year terms, 3 people would be to 2-year terms, 3 people to 1-year terms, and then from there on out they would be 3-year terms, because we don't want any more than 3 terms expiring in any 1 year.
Are they limited to how many terms they can serve?
We did not limit
Did
that,
not do
no.
that. Okay, I couldn't remember.
So if we make suggestions or amendments, obviously to the ordinance, then obviously we have to start over the process. Is that right?
And
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said if we make amendments or changes to the ordinance, we have to start the process over again. So
And
Are you
I mean,
concerned about a timeline as far as slowing things down a
The
bit?
sooner
I
the
think it
better.
needs to be done right
Yeah.
as opposed to just pushing it through.
but I would also say, I don't know if we need to do any ordinance amendments. I think it's just maybe on the initial selection of candidates, kind of what is the criteria the
Yes.
council's looking
That's
for
right.
on those candidates. So I don't think that needs to be built into the ordinance necessarily.
Because we could get 35 candidates
Yeah.
for 9
Right.
positions.
Right.
So it's kind of like,
Right.
what is our matrix? for-
Right.
I think, aren't you kind of referring to every commission, not just this one, I mean, going forward, that we identify the
Right.
criteria
I think that,
more specifically?
yeah,
so
I,
we're
right now
not-
I'm talking about this one, but
Right.
valid, absolutely. I
but
think
in
it applies
general.
to any of them.
Right, so that we're not looking at unqualified applicants.
Absolutely.
and
Right. There needs to be
amending
some sort of a
people's
process
session.
for us. Yes.
Right.
It, not any really different than the discussion as far as the civic funding goes. If you just put a bunch of really great qualified people, how do we choose?
Right.
Right.
What's the process?
Right.
Where is our criteria? Is there a matrix? What are we following?
Or if there's a group with no qualifications.
Right,
which has
then,
happened in the past,
right.
And that
Absolutely.
becomes difficult.
Well, I think maybe if we just move forward here and then it's like Charlie suggested, we can come up with some ideas, maybe give Charlie and staff some, each of us say what, our criteria for this, and then maybe come up with something.
And let me just offer a suggestion really quick too, as I'm thinking out loud, but let's see what we get for those first initial round of applicants. Maybe we have exactly 9 and it's perfect and we can move on that. Maybe we have 35 and we have to narrow them down and we have to go through a process similar to what we did with civic organizations, and we can then bring that forward at the next meeting. So maybe let's just see what happens with applicants as they come in, and then we can have that discussion on third consideration at your next meeting. If everybody's comfortable with that, just a suggestion.
I don't know that I'm comfortable with
Yeah, me
that.
too. Yeah.
I'm
agree.
still concerned with just because we get 9 applicants doesn't mean they're the right people for the
That's
position.
correct.
Can we table this until the next meeting?
I wouldn't table on second consideration. No, I don't, again, we're not talking, we don't have applicants yet. So we're not quite there yet. It's just, what do we do when we get those applicants in? So maybe, again, I'll offer another suggestion is rather than bring those applicants forward at your next council meeting, maybe after third consideration, we can add a discussion item on criteria that the council wants to
That's a good
review
plan.
on these. And then at your first meeting in April, if my days are getting me right, we'll bring the candidates forward we have at that time.
I would
We
appreciate
don't
that.
stall the process,
Yeah.
but we have
Yes.
more
Yeah.
definition.
Well, I think you already have some criteria, right? That, they have to be on the square, they
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
be, a business owner or
Yes.
a building owner.
Their interest in the square is defined, their quote unquote qualifications necessarily are not.
I think that's a good.
Okay,
Thank you, Alex.
we'll do that. Yeah. So we'll just add a discussion item after third consideration to go into that a little bit further.
Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
All right.
Moving on to number 2, brush facility, a resolution improving brush facility services for 2022. Can I get a motion? And a second.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. AP.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is AP, Public Works Director. I'm just repeating what I've presented during the last council meeting with the various kinds of services that's provided at the brush facility. The more popular ones is the Citywide Cleanup that's being offered by Waste Management during the week of April 25th to 29th. And during the same week, we are doing the electronic sand scrap appliance drop-off and the hazardous waste drop-off. I just wanted to point out that these dates and these services will be published in the city website, at our social media, and also our Indianola Spring magazine that we publish. So these dates will be given out to the residents. Few things to note is that we are recommending a few changes to the fees, and that's been highlighted here. Particularly with trailer loads of waste for brush or leaves that we get. And I've shown what changes we are recommending. One of the other thing that I also wanted to point out is there will be a fee for appliances during the spring cleanup event, which will not be applied at the fall cleanup because that is covered under a waste management contract with the city. And then if we take this, we currently have a fee for the television that computer monitors all year long. We will be going in a contract with K3 Recycling to do this work for TVs, computer monitors, and appliances that we are collecting. The other thing that I wanted to point out that we are currently facilitating 2 events for the hazardous waste. With this, we are going to remove our regular services, all year long services will be only provided twice a year because of functional issues that we are currently having with our operations at the brush facility. With that, we will have 2 action items. One is for the resolution to adopt the new fee schedule for the brush facility. The other one is for approving a contract with K3 Recycling to accept the TV monitors and the appliances.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for AP?
We're approving both these in the same motion. Would it be 2 different motions? 2 different motions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
I would move we approve resolution for professional services on appliance removal from brush facility for K3.
Second.
I have a couple questions. What is the reasoning for striking, he struck the number of the insurance provisions in there? What's the, and is that something we're approving or?
So we did the same thing last year too, where they don't have adequate, I think they don't have the carriers like the employees and everything. They were not able to facilitate. If you recall, we had H&A appliances was previously provided for no cost. And the only vendor that we could find is K3 Recycling. And we said, okay, we'll come to a compromise. Understand you're not able to facilitate this, but you are able to facilitate this program. This is the only way they would agree to providing these services, and K3 was the only vendor that was providing the services. They do the similar service at West Des Moines too. I think Carlisle too has the same vendor, so we are limited as far as vendors are.
But I'm assuming you've looked at this, Doug, that we're okay with the workman's comp being struck there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our insurance company is also.
Okay, all right, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that. Okay,
Question. Good question.
Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Page.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
We're moving on to B, new business. Number one is resolution setting wage ranges for parks, recreation, and aquatic center seasonal staff.
Good evening, everybody. Doug Byland, Parks and Recreation Director. I think you have a pretty long memo from me about our proposal for increasing our seasonal staff wages. You can see on the map there, or not the map, the spreadsheet there, the current wages that we have. Our Parks and Recreation staff wages were approved or changed back in 2013, and our Aquatic Center ones were changed in 2016. So a little behind the times, unfortunately. I'm sure as you see many signs around the community, we're still going to be lower than what most places are going to be starting when they try to hire people. So that becomes hard for us to recruit staff, but also to retain them year after year after year, especially on our park side, our pool manager, and things like that. They're kind of our head leadership team. They want to be able to come back here and so we can keep getting good services there. So I don't know if you have any other questions, even with, I guess, the budget impact, I guess that's probably one of the parts, even with the increase that we're suggesting to do even next week, if they can make it effective on March 13th, our total budget for our seasonal staff in the Parks Department, Recreation Department, and Activity Center Department will be less than what we budgeted for. And that's pretty normal because we never are open 100% of the time as much as we'd like to be. We get weather, we get storms, we get things where people don't get to work and they're not salary. So if we don't work, then they don't get wage that day. So even with that, we'll still have a negative impact on the budget for this fiscal year. But then, bless you, okay? I didn't mean to choke you out.
That's all right.
But then next year, the impact for the fiscal year, we've obviously adjusted some times of things. We've added staff here. We're planning to add staff on the square to take care of the streetscape and the plantings and so on that are up there. So even with all of that stuff going on, we show that impact of about $45,000 more for seasonal staff for next year compared to this year. Budgeted for this year.
Thanks, Doug. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution setting wage ranges for Parks, Recreation, and Aquatic Center seasonal staff? Move to approve.
Second.
Jackie?
Councilmember Beach.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Right, and can I get a motion to approve the resolution approving a tentative labor agreement between the City of Indianola and International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local Union 238, and the police unit? Motion and a second.
Approval.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Courtney is on Zoom if there's any questions for her on this.
questions? All right, Jackie.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Beach,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
So moving on to the other business, Charlie, you would like to give the interim city manager
I'll
report.
let Andy start because he's
Yeah.
got one item on here and then I'll follow up.
I just have a really quick item, Mayor and Council. With the Indian New Lions, they've applied for a grant with Warren County Philanthropic Partnership. Part of the requirements for that grant, you have to be a 501c3 or a member of body, a governmental body. The Lions are, especially their 501c4, so they need a fiscal sponsor for that grant. And I went ahead and I'm a member of the board, I'm the treasurer, so I said, sure, the city can do that because I've done that up in Carlisle. After talking with our auditor, he said, yeah, it's probably best that the council give the okay for that and just say that you're fine with it, that we're okay with doing it. It's nothing more than just, we receive the money and then we pay it right back out, so just a pass through.
We do that with other things in the past, right? We've done that with some grants for, I think, didn't we do that for the downtown or somebody on the square? We did that for one of the construction projects. Or hometown, right? There was
I
something.
feel like we have.
We have.
We've participated in other grants, but I don't know if we've ever been, you know, a
Okay.
fiscal sponsor like this. But like I said, it's nothing more than just a pass through, and the Lions do, they're applying to get a grant to buy a much larger grill for their shack or trailer at the Balloon Fest. And we raised about $20,000, then about $20,000 at Balloon Fest that we turned back to the community and a lot of other, including several departments here in the city, so.
That's something we need to formally approve then. No, just shrug, just shake our
Just
head.
direction.
Okay.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
Really quick from my side, I think everybody was informed this morning, the Streetscape project next phase was supposed to start this morning. Obviously, there was a few inches of snow on the ground, which is going to delay that, and there's even more snow coming, sounds like this week. So they've made the decision to push it back another week to Monday. And as we discussed this morning, the main reason was we didn't want to have road closures and sidewalk closures in place and no activity within the street taking place. So we thought it was in the best interest of everybody involved if we just waited a week. And looking forward, the forecast next week and beyond does look much better. So fingers crossed, we do cross into spring there. I know last council meeting, maybe 2 council meetings ago, there was some discussion about bringing the rules and procedures forward for a discussion. I think we want to looking kind of forward at some of what of our study sessions are, maybe do that at the next meeting. So we'll put that on the study session for March, is that 21st? Yes. And then I will get an email out to everybody just to kind of have everybody go through that and make notes on your own. And then we can bring that forward in a study session for discussion on that.
I thought we were waiting till April for that.
There's other things that are coming in April and we'll, I mean, if you want to have a meeting till 11 o'clock at night, we could do it then, but I think March, there's nothing in March, so I think the timing really lines up really well.
I
So,
won't be here for that.
okay, okay. Are you going to be able to be?
I don't know. for sure.
Okay, well, we can, and if you want to just review it as well too at a time, I can provide your comments to everybody as well.
Let's do
So,
that.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
March 21st?
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing,
Yeah, I won't.
yeah, I
be
was just
here.
curious because we're doing, that's the night of the budget.
Yep, yep, nope, I know that too, so. And then last thing I want to do, I just want to give all of our staff credit. I mean, obviously, we're all kind of short-staffed here right now, working in myself in an interim role, and I just really want to give everybody credit because everybody here has been very helpful. This has been a giant learning curve for me. I know a lot of people new on council have said the same thing, but I've struggled at times, and without these guys, I'm not sure I could make it, but I just want to give kudos to everybody involved, and I know we're getting hopefully close to getting a city manager hired, and I'm maybe the one who looks the most forward to that, but I want to say I appreciate everybody's assistance and help through this, so.
And I know I spoke with Amy Duncan earlier today. Have we finalized maybe more of our ideas on the city manager as far as when they come and will we?
So obviously we have 2 closed session meetings coming up this week to kind of discuss that a little bit more, but the thought would be that last full week in March to that first weekend in April. I think April 1st falls on a Friday, if I recall right. So maybe close to that weekend there is really what we're looking at on schedule wise. So,
I thought that was what we were gonna discuss at the end of the.
yeah,
session
so
on
yeah,
Wednesday.
yes, and we'll get that formalized, so.
Perfect.
And then, yeah, we'll work to get all that information out when we get it, and we'll obviously have to work with the finalists before we put names out there and all of that stuff, so
Mhm.
Okay,
that is all I have.
all right. We, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Becky? Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will move into an exempt session, strategy meeting to discuss employment positions.